Hello and welcome to the Mindset RX podcast, and welcome to what's going to be the brand new season of the Mindset RX podcast. I think this is, it is season 3. It's not even, I think it's season 3. It is season 3. And what you'll notice is there's no intro music, and it may sound a bit different ambiance wise. If you can hear an ambiance through this microphone, you may hear that it's different from the last time I spoke to you, and it must be months ago since I spoke to you guys last. I haven't recorded a podcast for what seems like forever, and honestly there's kind of no good reason. I mean, we've been at Mindset RX, we've been putting together the digital mindset gym and the on-ramp course, and I've been kind of wading through content and content creation for the athletes we serve, and we've been busy. But the biggest change really is the reason for the different sounding ambiance in the room, and maybe some footsteps above you, is that I've moved to Canada, and I'm now sitting in an Airbnb where we'll be for the next 3 weeks or so, and I can kind of see some fir trees. It's pretty Canadian here, but I've been thinking about kind of what I enjoyed the most about the whole of my Mindset RX journey, and podcasting is a part of that. It, for a very selfish reason, it helps me organize my thoughts, and maybe for an even more selfish reason, although I don't really like the word selfish, maybe self-serving, or that has negative connotations as well. I'm not even 2 minutes in and we're already off topic, but I suppose self-serving in a positive way is what this is. But in an even more self-serving way, it kind of helps Mindset RX grow, and it helps, we're a team of 8 now, so that's the team is growing massively. But what I'm saying is we've moved to Canada. I've had this huge change, and I want to start podcasting again because, it's fun, and I know that sometimes I say things that I didn't know I knew already, and that helps you guys. It kind of helps me formalize my thoughts, but it's also quite an efficient, effective way of getting my thoughts across to you guys, and I don't have to worry about formatting PDFs, and I don't have to worry about making things look pretty and designing them. I don't have to worry about sitting down and typing. I can kind of just freeball my ideas and get them across to you, which is essentially what the last 3 minutes has been anyway. And you'll excuse me, hopefully, if this is a little rusty compared to usual. But anyway, let's get into what I was going to talk about. And I think the first thing is something I brought up a few moments ago, which was that there's no intro music to this. And that's not just through laziness, but because I'm trying to release myself from any additional complexity. And I think this is the first lesson from today, really, that we can touch on. When we add complexity into things for the sake of perfectionism seeking, okay, so let's just break that down. We add complexity to things because we think we have to be perfect. But I was putting off podcasting because it seemed too complex, and complexity is the enemy of execution. I can't remember who said that, but it's a brilliant quote. It's two very opposing people are going through my head. It's either Tony Robbins or Einstein. Complexity is the enemy of execution. And if we can remove the barriers that stand in our way to becoming the person that we want to be, then we are far more likely to become that person. And sometimes we add these barriers in because, we think we have to be perfect, or there's something that's in our bounds nature self, or our shadow self, which is creating added complexity because we know that we can't keep it up, and therefore we don't have to change. And that's quite a realization for you, because when we come back around to what Mindset RX is and what this podcast is, it really is an exploration of how our subconscious mind, our inner athlete, dictates our performance. So what we've got to realize is we are doing things, and this is way off track already. I didn't even expect to go down here, but we are doing things that are sabotaging us, that we have no idea about, and no idea for the reasons why. In fact, we very rarely have a good enough reason why, but our subconscious is dictating that. And one of those things is that we add in needless complexity in order to self-sabotage. You might think it's strange that you're making yourself self-sabotage. However, it's your inner athlete, right? If you ever noticed, there's two types of you, or there's two of you in your head at least. You've got the you that is this kind of thinking, cognitive, cerebral, able to converse you. There's that you, okay? The you that dictates easily and can have a conversation with someone, and is the you that you'd prefer to be. It's the you that you'd like to be in control of you. But then there's the other you. And the other you kicks up thoughts the whole time. The other you is dictating your behavior, and that is what I call your inner athlete. Your inner athlete is that it's the I hesitate to say the real you, but it's probably the you that you're a bit ashamed of. Like Jung calls it your shadow. Okay, everyone has their shadow. It's their deep, the dark part of them, the part of them that you don't really want to show to people. Okay, it's not a great place to be honest, but. Anyway, this is what I call your inner athlete. Your inner athlete is essentially your subconscious or your unconscious mind. And to get any kind of change, you have to get to know your unconscious. You have to get to know your inner athlete, because your inner athlete is dictating a whole bunch of performance that you have no idea of. So if your objective is to learn to push harder as an athlete, then you have to get to know your inner athlete first, okay? Because otherwise you're going to push yourself in the opposite direction. If your objective is to become more consistent as an athlete, then guess what? You have to get to know your inner athlete better, because your inner athlete is comprised of thoughts, emotions, physical sensations, and behaviors that you don't want to be performing, or that you haven't chosen to perform. So this inner athlete, guys, this is what you have to work on. And anyway, to loop back around after that 5-minute digression, when it comes to me podcasting, I have to reduce the complexity in order for me to be able to put podcasts out, okay, and to serve you consistently. But you as an athlete, I guarantee you're adding in extra complexity where it doesn't need to be done. It's very simply, we can look at things like the Pareto distribution, right? 20% of your actions will dictate 80% of your results. But we spend so much time focusing on the other 80% of our actions, the ones that do very, very little. And don't get me wrong, these are important. But we spend so much time focusing on these 80% that do very little that create very little of our results, that we begin to neglect the 20% that gives us the majority of our results. So this could be deadlifting, this could be squatting heavy, it could be like the fundamental movements, but we spend time doing kind of fancy drills, or we spend time focusing on supplements when we should be focusing on our quality of food or our quantity of food, that side of things. So what we have to do is reduce complexity and increase simplicity. It's back to our idea of core value at Mindset RX of minimum effective dose of consistent elegance. Okay, we seek a surprisingly simple or ingenious solution to an apparently complex problem. That is the definition of elegance. So look for simplicity, look for elegance. Okay, that's the first thing that I want to talk to you about. And you can use this, like a question, a real kind of actionable thing for you is, okay, how can I become more elegant? How can I become more simple in what I'm doing? How can I reduce the complexity in my day-to-day life in order to get to where I want to be going quicker? So that's number one for you. The second thing I want to talk about is, where should we go from this? Let's go for this next point. So the next point I want to talk about is like actually my transition over here. Not that type of transition, my transition to move to Canada. So this came about from years of kind of knowing my direction and where I want to go. But you can imagine that actually moving was a hell of a task. Like I really underestimated it, because I didn't realize quite the impact it would have on the business that I'm running, Mindset RX, on the relationships that I have. Nothing negative, but it really does throw a spanner in the works that you've got to remove into your relationships. And I just felt kind of off, and I have felt off until a couple of days ago. I mean, we've been here 6 days now, so it took about 4 days of being here for me to kind of settle. I was living at Harriet, my girlfriend's. I was living at her parents for a week, and kind of everything was everywhere. I didn't really train much that week. It was kind of a bit weird. Didn't really enjoy not training. I enjoyed being there, but I didn't really enjoy not training. And kind of my life was all over the place for a little bit. So what I've had to do is find some elements of consistency within there. And that's exactly what my journaling practice has done. And that's a really good reason to get a mindset practice, to begin journaling, because it's that structure that creates your freedom. And if you've got something every single day that brings you back to ground zero, that brings you back to, okay, this is my centered focal point. If you've got that, then you've got some structure to come back to. And I use the phrase structure equals freedom. This is kind of a central tenet of who I am as an athlete, and let me rephrase that. Structure equals freedom is a central tenet of the way I try to live my life, because what I've realized is we all want freedom of some degree, and me more so than others. But unless you are consistent enough with adding structure into your life, then you will never get to where you want to be going. You won't have the freedom. You won't have the chance to expand unless you really dial down to the structure. And just from being here, reintroducing the structure, or not reintroducing, but trying to restructure my life, or trying to put consistency and things that I can expect into my day-to-day life, is the best way that I can get to where I want to be going, and the best way that I can get back to training hard and climbing a lot and skiing loads and all those kind of stuff that I want to do. It will only come about as a product of structure, of an element of predictability. I think predictability is a great thing. Because what I'm trying to get to is this, and this is to cut to the chase. There's going to be times in your life when everything goes to shit in some way, whether that's positive or negative, when chaos runs in and goes, look, I'm here, I'm going to disrupt everything. And unless you can add some predictability to that, some structure, some goals, some disciplines to some degree, unless you can add that, then you are going to join that chaos, and you're going to be immersed in that chaos. And it's a deep swim out of there. Like it's a tough swim. It's a swim through choppy waters to get out of that chaos, unless you have a structured approach. So you as an athlete, you are going to get disrupted by things. You are going to get disrupted by injury, by moving house, by success or failure, by all kinds of things. Like, you will get disrupted. And unless you add some structure, unless you have structure that you can fall back on, you cannot expect to thrive in that chaos. The chaos is coming, whether you like it or not, and you have to have that structure. You have to have that predictability in your life, because otherwise you will be completely unguided. Okay, and where I want to go with this is kind of linking into the third point, which is I want to discuss my journaling practice with you and exactly what's in it, because I don't think it should be a secret that of the techniques that I use and what I do on the day-to-day life, on a day-to-day basis. So what I start off with is a mental check-in. Okay, I describe this as taking my mental pulse. Okay, you know how you take your pulse to kind of to sense where you are in your day, to sense your state, okay, to sense your physical state. What you're going to do by checking your mental pulse is just see what's on your mind. And this is a practice we call observe your inner athlete in the digital mindset gym, and throughout Mindset RX we call it observe your inner athlete. And what that is just like free form writing. Whatever's on your mind, write it out on paper, because then you can take your mental pulse. The next thing I do is I remind myself where I'm going. I look at my vision for 3 years from now, maybe some visions for like a year from now. I say, who do I want to be in 3 years? And I answer that question and I repeat it, because that emotion and the repetition really guide you to where you want to be. That's how you end up where you want to be, okay? So you've got to look at, okay, who do I want to be in 3 years? And really spend a few minutes just writing down, where do I want to go? Who do I want to become? The next thing I do is I ask myself, am I doing what I want to be doing to get there? Very simply, am I pushing too hard? Am I not pushing enough? Have I not got enough structure? Have I not got enough freedom? Am I playing the right games? Am I doing the right things to get where I want to go? And then finally, I write down, okay, what are my intentions for today? What am I going to do today to take me close to that vision? It might be very small. In fact, the smaller the better, because it's more achievable. Going back to reducing complexity. And then finally, what I do to just keep myself positive is recap all my wins. I call it an AMWAP, okay, as many wins as possible. What have I done over the last 24 hours or so? What have I done over the last 24 hours or so that has made me feel good, that has taken me closer towards who I want to be? And the whole purpose of this is twofold. Well, I suppose you can boil it down to one purpose. The main purpose is to change the inner athlete's narrative. You can change that by hearing it first and then doing things that promote a more beneficial narrative. So that's what we're looking to do. We're looking to change that narrative, and you can only do that through a consistent journaling practice. I meditate as well, which is kind of more a focus of, okay, taking my mental pulse and seeing where I am, but then kind of playing around with what is realities. But that's a different topic for a different day. But anyway, that's my journaling practice. I hope the last 15 minutes or so has been useful for you. I'm going to try and do one of these every week. I'm going to try and kind of, but actually no, I'm going to aim to do one of these every week. It may not happen because, well, I'm restructuring my life and I'm in a new country, so I'll keep you updated with this. And until then, if you want to keep up to date, oh, by the way, actually, let me loop around in the least formatted sentence of my life in the last few seconds there. If you want to stay up to date with Mindset RX, you can check out our website, mindsetrx.com, but probably the best place is either follow me on Instagram, which is at Tom Foxley, so Foxley, you know how to spell Tom, and the Facebook group, Mindset for Functional Athletes. That's a really good resource, and I've just put up some like free training guides within that. So I would, if you're an athlete who wants to master their mindset and learn more about the journaling practice that I mentioned, learn more about meditation, learn more about the AMWAP, learn more about the unconscious, and if you want to learn how to push harder and become more consistent, and just become the athlete that you want to become, then it's that Facebook group that I would join, Mindset for Functional Athletes. It's all free. And then I'll give a quick plug to what we're doing as well. The Digital Mindset Gym is something we've released. It's fucking awesome so far. It's just as it sounds, it's like an online facility for training mindset for functional athletes. And until next time, guys, there's going to be no outro music, so there's going to be an abrupt me stop. I'll speak to you very soon.